Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third. Thanks for joining us live on YouTube alongside Darian Jenkins and Sandra Herrera. I'm Lisa Carlin. USA in their first match post winning gold this summer at the Olympics. They get a 3-1 win over Iceland. But first, Darian, how's it going on this beautiful Thursday night?
Lovely. The U.S. got a win. We got some bangers. We got some youth into the squad. I'm here with my girls. It's a great Thursday. I couldn't ask for a better Thursday. How you feeling, Carlin?
Good. I mean, usually I see you both earlier on Thursdays. This is our first day 3 of the day. So I've been missing you guys a little bit, but I knew I'd see you eventually. I'd get my dose of attacking third today. So I'm happy to be here. Happy we have a win to talk about as well. Sandra, how are you, bud?
I love to win, right? Winner, winner, chicken dinner. And I'm with you though. If there was like an element that was missing, I know we're always talking about the job and we're just like, oh, I was occupied with this or busy with this. But there was some weird part where I was like, what's missing from today? It's like, oh yeah, hanging out with the two of you, like doing all things A3. So here we are. Let's do it.
I know, but we're back. We did this all summer. Live U.S. Women's National Team recaps throughout the Olympics, throughout everything. And now that we got an international break, we're back. We're going live after all of the games. So if you like this and you're with us now on YouTube, let us know. Like this video, subscribe to us, join the conversation live on YouTube in the chat. Give us your comments, thoughts, questions, everything about the U.S. Women's National Team, about I don't even know, NWSL debuts. We got some big debuts tonight. What else should the people let us know, Darian?
Some beautiful goals. Even Iceland's goal was stunner.
Banger. Yup.
Yeah, we got some great goals tonight. Maybe who everyone wants to see more of in the next match is coming up.
Yeah, that's a good one. I know I want to see a lot more people. We're going to talk about it. We are chatting everything about the U.S., so let us know. We're also available as a podcast, so download, follow, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts on these U.S. Women's National Team games and everything Attacking Third Wise. We're here to do that for you and let you guys know what is up. So thanks for joining us live on YouTube. We're also available on Golazo Network. You can watch us there, tune in, and that's where this episode is going as well. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for diving into it. Let's chat some U.S. Women's National Team. Let's rock and roll with us. Here we go, guys. Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third for a very special USA Women's National Team recap episode. The USA defeat Iceland 3-1, and we are here to recap it all. Alongside Darian Jenkins and Sandra Herrera, I'm Lisa Carlin. Big win for the US, Darian Jenkins. What are your initial thoughts on this match?
Wow, did the younger players ball out. We needed the injection of some youth and we got it and they came out and scored and I love to see it. I think I was really looking forward to seeing who's going to take advantage of this match because when you get minutes in games like this where there's not a lot of pressure, it's just a friendly, there's not anything massive coming up, but this is the time where you can really make a name for yourself. And I think the youth, these young guns, came out and balled out. So that was my big takeaway, what I was so hyped to see from this match.
Same. Bring them out. Bring them out. That's where I was at. I was like, let's go. Let's have fun with it. And they delivered.
They sure did. It was a really fun match. The USA took on Iceland in their first game since winning gold at the Paris Olympics this past summer. Emma Hayes, in just her 11th game in charge, she picks up another dub for the squad, 3-1 over Iceland. This match took place Thursday night in Austin, Texas at Q2 Stadium, the first of 3 friendlies in this international window. And we are recapping them all. So you can join us live on Golazo Network, post every single U.S. Women's National Team match. We're also available on YouTube and as a podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. Let's dive into it. We have to start with the starting 11 for the United States Women's National Team. They rolled out with some familiar faces and also some players that haven't been in the mix in a while. Let's take a look at the starting 11 for the United States Women's National Team. In goal, it was Alyssa Nair, the gold medalist. Across the back line, Jenna Knightswanger, Naomi Girma, Emily Sonnet, and Emily Fox. In the midfield, Sam Coffey, Lindsay Horan, and Rose Lavelle, with Mallory Swanson, Lynn Williams, and Alyssa Thompson up top. Some notes about this starting 11. Emily Sonnet earning her 100th cap with the U.S. Women's National Team. She becomes the 45th player to do that. 10 players in this 11 were at the Olympics this summer. The only one not there was Alyssa Thompson, and Alyssa Thompson gets her first call up with this camp in over 10 months and her first start since July 2023 versus Wales. This game against Iceland, and these were the 11 that Emma Hayes was going to roll out with. Sandra, when this 11 dropped, which names stood out to you that were going to get the start?
Oh my goodness. I mean, obviously every single Olympian, look, the champions match, it was giving Olympic gold medal celebration. So it wasn't maybe too surprising to see this many players who had Olympic gold medals getting the start out there. But I also thought it was really representative of how difficult it is to name those type of Olympic rosters, because here we saw Alyssa Thompson with this start with these players as well. It's tough to name any type of major roster for an international tournament like a World Cup or an Olympics, but to have to narrow things down a bit because of the Olympic rules in play, you have to wonder Alyssa Thompson, and we could probably list off a flurry of names that maybe fell short of those personal goals to make those type of rosters. So it felt right to sort of see so many, but also have Alyssa Thompson there with the incredible sort of second half of the season performance that she's put together with NWSL reach this moment.
It's a really big deal. Sorry, Lisa, I'm just going to jump in. I think it's a big deal that Alyssa Thompson is the only player that wasn't at the Olympics that got the start. That is a massive, massive note and a big nod to her and all of the work that she's put in and all of the adversity she's faced to come back and have a great pre-match training, the couple of trainings that they've had together, so good that she was the player that got picked to be in that starting 11. I think that's should be a massive confidence booster to her. I think that's a testament to us that, hey, this is the player that's going to be the staple. This is the player that's really taken the hardships and the hard work and put everything into it back onto the field. And we've seen, I think, a new iteration of what Alyssa Thompson can actually bring to the women's national team.
The nod that she gets the start, Alyssa Thompson, Darian, how much did that actually translate in the play that we saw from Thompson?
She was player of the match to me by far. I kept taking notes, and for everyone listening, we were sharing a doc before the match, and we were all kind of like writing the same things about Alyssa Thompson. And for me, she was the player that no one, especially in the first half, could keep pace with her on her own team. She seemed like she was on a different plane than everybody else with her quick movements off of, I'm not even talking on the ball, off of the ball, where she was pulling defenders, checking into space, how quickly she was laying passes off, where she was running as soon as she laid the ball off. She was constantly in dangerous spots that opened up so much, I think, for Emily Fox, for Rose Lavelle over on that right side. And I was kind of thinking like, damn, I really want to see her switch over to the left and cause some problems with Niswanger, Swanson, and Lavelle on that side, because I feel like it just opened up a little bit more over there. And we finally got to see it with the goal, but she just looked like she is in the zone. She looks confident and comfortable and finally back to herself. And her goal celebration was just perfection. I feel like everybody had the same reaction, like, oh.
It was adorable. It was adorable celebration.
Yes. Taking off on a rocket. Let's go.
She's probably got like a foot of elevation there underneath her feet on that jump.
She is a freaking specimen, and I love that we're seeing the results of it come on the pitch.
Yeah, it was very cool to see kind of the fruits of the labor of Alyssa Thompson take off and be able to be executed in this. I love that she got the shout and the start. I predicted her to get the start, not because I anticipated that to happen.
Were you the only one?
Yeah, I think I was.
Yeah.
Good job, Lisa.
But because I wanted her to get the start, she deserved it. She deserved it. She's got 5 goals in her last 8 domestic games with Angel City, and she does it similarly to the way that she scored tonight. She got the opening goal for the United States, and we are going to dive into the analytics of the first half, the second half, the differences and everything that went down. But I was really surprised to see Thompson start on the right wing, because for club, she mostly plays on the left, and she's able to cut back and score on her right. There was Swanson on the left, though, up top. And we also got to see Sam Coffey play as this singular pivot in the midfield for the U.S. with Lindsey Horan a bit higher. Sandra, when you saw the structure of the midfield for the U.S. and how they were laid out against an Icelandic side that was in a 4-4-2 and had some movement, but when you look specifically at the midfield for the U.S., what did you notice between Horan, Lavelle, and Coffey?
I mean, that this is the unit, right, moving forward and from out of the Olympics and moving forward now. But I thought throughout the game, there were moments where it sort of was feeling, in terms of the eye test, it was like, okay, this is it. These are some of the challenges that this midfield needs to continue to try to sort of figure out, the problem solving that we need to see. This is an Icelandic team that is ranked 13 in the world. They came out to play today. And for, I think, the coaching staff, they want to see those things. Even if this is perhaps the ideal midfield at the moment, you want to see these scenarios in which they can problem solve. And they got tested a bit. And I think that's a credit to Iceland and the way that they kind of fluctuated a bit. We saw how they rolled out. Maybe they were a little bit more defensive with five in the middle at times to sort of counteract some things. And we're going to get to the conceding of the goal, or maybe we saw some of those, the problem solving kind of not there for this trio. But I think early on, I think there was a little bit of a test there for this team. But I think the other side of that coin is that that's something that the coaching staff wants to see, that they embrace that. So I think throughout the remainder of the match, they sort of figured things out. I think maybe there's also a version here on the spectrum where we could say, did they get maybe bailed out by some of this incredible goal scoring by some of the teams?
That's a good topic of conversation, Sandra, because the first goal for the U.S. didn't come until the 39th minute. And it did come from Alyssa Thompson. She gets her first international goal, but there was 40 minutes or so, Darian, where these teams were almost feeling themselves out. I mean, Iceland is a team that can't be slept on. They have qualified for their 5th straight Euros. They are going there next year. They didn't have to qualify in this international window. That's why they were available. But in what ways did Iceland ask questions of the U.S.?
They were physical. They were so physical against the U.S. And I think it rocked some players' rhythm getting into this match. And the U.S. looked, the passing, I think, in the first half for me was a little one-dimensional. There wasn't any big switches of the ball. When you looked how Iceland was lining up, they were trying to lock the U.S. to one side. They were trying to be suffocating in that way. But if the ball was switched quickly, that's when things opened up. Or if they were moving the ball quickly enough to switch it, even if on the ground, it was working in the U.S.'s favor. And I don't think we saw anybody take dictatorship over that movement happening, over that ball movement, over switching the point of the attack. And to be honest, I think we saw some players that just aren't in the best form with the U.S. right now. I mean, it's that time of the NWSL season, and even players that are playing overseas, like a Lindsey Horan and Emily Fox, where it's you're getting into form of the regular season and Champions League and trying to, get your legs under yourself and get your body used to that cadence and rhythm of all of these games, and then traveling all the way here and playing. It's a lot. Some players are coming back from injury, and I think we saw those players that just, it almost was like some players were a step behind what
Who
I'm going to say. Lindsey Horan, Lynn Williams were two of the players that stuck out to me that were just behind what everyone else was trying to do. It looked like they weren't up to the cadence. I think Williams, she's been out for a bit with an injury. She didn't play and get minutes in her last match with Gotham, and then jumping into starting with the national team at this new level that the U.S. plays at. It's a lot. And I don't know if that was the best for her confidence going into the rest of these matches, or let alone going back with Gotham. But I do think it's allowing space for other players to take advantage of it.
Should Lynn Williams not have started?
I understand why she did, because she was on the Olympic team, but I don't think for maybe where she's at and coming back from an injury, that was the best case scenario for her to feel confident going into a match.
and she ends up playing 70 minutes through this match too. It was interesting. You touched on Iceland's physicality, Darian. 17 fouls. It was physical for Iceland. It was a game plan, but it rocked the U.S. at times. There was moments where the U.S. had to figure out how to unlock different things, but specifically in the midfield, I was surprised to see that Lindsay Horan was so much higher than she was at the Olympics. This past summer, when the U.S. was pressing, it was typically Rose Lavelle who was so much higher trying to drive the press. And tonight for the U.S., it was Lindsay Horan in that position with Swanson, Williams, Thompson, and then Lavelle being the other part of the attack. And the U.S. had a game plan in their pressure defensively, trying to pin Iceland in, because Iceland wanted to play. They wanted the ball on the ground. They wanted to build out, but it took probably 15, 20 minutes into the match for the U.S. to realize those different pressure pockets defensively where they could trap the Iceland and then look to go. And the outlet wasn't always there. It took time for the U.S. to really grow into this game. What do you think?
It took personnel change.
Yeah.
I think Sophia Smith, to me, when she came in, her hold-up play changed the dynamic of the game.
Darian's like, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
But you know what? I don't disagree.
But they didn't have a hold-up game before she came in.
I do wonder if like some of the build-up to this game. I mean, there's the emphasis on the fact that these are the victory tour games. Like, there's that layer of like, how much is this first game affected by that, right? Like the players that you are selecting to start because of the celebrations that are in effect versus the tasks that you want to present your team and the tactics and the things that you want to give them to work on in the game. And like, maybe there's all of the above, right? The fact that this was the first game back as well had to be taken into consideration for this squad post-Olympics. But I think when you're at this level, when you're sort of looked at as those sort of, like I mentioned earlier, that kind of ideal trio, or the ones who are likely going to be the examples, the starters, you want to get into these opportunities and deliver. And yes, we can point to all those other things before, but if it's not giving, you got to make that call, I think, as the coaching staff.
We're going to dig into this because there are a lot of questions here that need to be answered. Was it personnel all over the pitch? Was it not good enough from the U.S.? Did Iceland throw things off? Don't go anywhere. We're diving into more about the U.S. getting the 3-1 win over Iceland. Stick with us. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. USA get the 3-1 win over Iceland in their first match back since winning gold at the Paris Olympics. Let's talk a little bit about specifically the first half. US go into halftime up a goal thanks to Alyssa Thompson in the 39th minute. The 19-year-old gets her first international goal. There was a lot that came from this goal specifically. Darian, can you break it down for us? I love when we get to
I can
ask you to do this.
break it down. Alyssa Thompson is a beast. What I love about this is she gets isolated 1v1. I think it's Lindsay Horan who lays the ball off to her. She faces up, sees she's one-on-one with a defender, does a little shake and bake, has this perfect touch over to her right, dips her left shoulder, puts it to her right, has another little touch, and bends it far post. It's a brilliant finish. Shake and bake, Alyssa Thompson. But I love this because it's exactly what we've been seeing her do with club, with Angel City. You've heard her talk about it in interviews where she's like, hey, I'm working with Kristen Press in her kind of Kristen Press era goals. That's what we just saw is so Kristen Press coded. The face up, quick little touches, dip inside and whip it far post with so much finesse. And I love that we got to see that. It's just another element to her game. But again, it's the celebrations for me.
Yes.
It was so freaking cute. And so it showed all of the hard work and blood, sweat, and tears she's put into this moment. And she finally gets it after, Lisa, I think you said 10 months of her not being with the national team. It's filthy. So deserved.
It was filthy. I loved it. I love how you're mentioning the ways of the growth. And I think that's what was so special about this performance tonight from Alyssa Thompson is that we are watching it in real time. It's like, oh, that's development, baby. That's what that's called. And it's like you saw this sort of extra level that she had on the pitch tonight. And it didn't matter which side she was bringing it from. She was bringing it 100% on this side and 100% on the other side. And Emma Hayes in the build-up to these friendlies has chatted about that, about what she wants to see from players. And the ones especially that did not get named to that Olympic roster, what they were tasked with, because it's ultimately like you're kind of like telling these players a little bit that they're fired. It's like, you did not make this roster, but here's what I need you to work on. And I think for such a young player, that could be a pendulum. You can either take it one way or the other. You can let yourself get really, really low, or you could be Alyssa Thompson and do what you did tonight. It was an incredible performance. Loved the goal.
Alyssa Thompson at 19 years old, she becomes the fourth teenager to score in this calendar year for the U.S. women's national team for the first time since the year 2000. That is absolutely crazy. Olivia Moultrie, Jaedyn Shaw, Lily Johannes are also names on that list, and Alyssa Thompson gets her name into it. When they on the broadcast, when Thompson scored and they were like, this is her first international goal, I didn't know that.
Me neither. I was like, no, she scored like 6 or 7 goals. No, it was her first goal. I'm glad I wasn't the only one perplexed by that statement, but it's true.
I was a little perplexed by that. Maybe we shouldn't admit that. We should know those things, but I didn't know that just because of how many times she had been called up before. She was at the World Cup in 2023, and it was different. And this was a different Alyssa Thompson that we got to see tonight. But I think it's really interesting that she started the first half and started the game on the right side, but the goal ends up coming when she switches to the left side. And she was able to drive at the defender, shake and bake, and set it up on her right foot and go herself. The first 30 minutes of this game, Thompson was getting the ball and creating chances down the right flank, sending crosses in and having opportunities, but they weren't connecting with anyone. It was almost like the front line for the U.S. was off in moments. And in the first, this goal took until 40 minutes into the match, the 39th minute for the U.S. to score. And there was a lot of patience at time from the U.S. in their attack to find the extra pass instead of a shot or a cross, finding the option that could be better, constant movement off the ball, overlapping. There were so many times when Jenna Neiswanger pushing up higher got the ball, and I thought, send the cross in. There is Lynn Williams waiting on the back post. Alyssa Thompson is there, or even Lindsay Horan was going to whip it in, and they didn't. They found that extra person, which led to Iceland outshooting the United States in the first 25 minutes, 5-3, 2-1 shots on target. So how do you rate, Sandra, the level of patience that the U.S. had, versus having a bit more urgency to create more chances and force Iceland to make saves in net?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was looking for that response. I think probably during that really early corner kick opportunity that Iceland had, and it was a little too close for comfort, I think, for some folks and some of us watching. And I had that feeling where I was just like, geez, like this set piece defending, like something about the set piece defending is something that is still sort of following this USWNT around. Like, check that out, put that on the checklist of things that they're probably going to work on throughout this international window. And the other one is perhaps some of that transition defense, because I think we saw the struggle in that throughout some of this game, despite some of the numbers that you just ran down. It was a game plan that was effective for Iceland in the sense that they were executing it well. Obviously, it didn't show in the final scoreline, but there were obvious stretches of time throughout this match where maybe you can point this into say in terms of the momentum swings, which maybe there's not a stat for that, but as far as the momentum swings, it felt kind of even.
What should have been better in the first 30, 40 minutes for the US side, Darian?
It's difficult to say what should have been better because I realize we have to take into account these are all players that have been with their respective club teams. The stakes are very high. I mean, think about playing for Angel City where you haven't really been able to breathe. You've kind of put yourself in this position in the NWSL season where it's do or die every single game. It's all gas, no brakes, and it hasn't panned out. Every player is at a different level or at a different confidence level with their club team. So I expected it to be a little janky going into this first half, which I think we saw a little bit of rust working through those partnerships with each other, trying to see who's on the same page right now, which is really difficult to get into. I think what we should focus on is that they got into it. As the game went on, they found their groove. They started to plug holes. But I really like that Iceland caused them so many issues in the back, exposed this huge gap that no team has between Niswanger and Germa.
Huge.
There were times where the back line looked all out of sorts, and we typically don't see teams take advantage of it. And those are big lessons for the U.S. that need to happen for this to be maintained being the number one team in the world. But I just like that the U.S. finally gained confidence, looked and exposed what Iceland was giving them. I just wish it happened maybe more so in the run of play, which was the same criticism we had going into the Olympics.
Yeah, the two notes I have for Iceland, 22nd minute, there was a corner kick for Iceland where it was constant waves of pressure. There was 2 or 3 chances for Iceland to create chances on goal, and the U.S. got exposed. They were pulled apart defensively. It wasn't the typical defensive organization lockdown defense that we see from the United States, from Alyssa Nair, from Naomi Germa, the other center back in there, Emily Sonnet. Is there anything you can point to, Sandra, as to why we didn't see excellent defense from the U.S. when we're used to seeing that?
Yeah, I just think again, I can't give enough credit to Iceland. They're in form. I mean, we're not talking so much about their rosters and their starting lineup either when we were in this episode, but I mean the 23 players that called into this international window are the bulk of them, the majority of them are the players that were responsible for getting the team through qualifications for next year's Euro. So these are players that we're talking about finding moments of cohesiveness. Iceland's looking for that too. Not only are they looking for that, they're building on that. They have built that, and they are currently trying to build on that. And I think that showed today. And I think when we're looking at this second half in particular, well, maybe Lisa, how you're framing it, like maybe what could they have done better in the first 30 minutes, and how did that look going into this second half? I mean, it continued a little bit into the second half because that's how that equalizer comes for Iceland. It is a moment of a breakdown, for a fail of recognition for the transitional defense by the USWNT. Like, and that's what it's going to take. It's when you're talking about transitional defense, like it's not just Alyssa Nair and the possible 3 or 4 that are in front of her. When you have a team that's going to hit you like that, transitional defense has got to be everybody going. So yeah. It's not, when we look at the replay on this equalizer, we see the breakdown in recognition by Haran, and essentially Coffey trying to make her recover, and then you see a very dejected Rose Lavelle. Like, it's in her own body language how she wasn't able to sort of close that space, and this shot comes from distance. So we're not saying anything new here. People could just go look at the replay and sort of see the body language and how that was a breakdown there.
10 minutes on either side of the half, Iceland had really dangerous opportunities. There was the really good moment just before Alyssa Thompson gets the opening goal for the U.S. in the 34th minute for Iceland, where a slip ball comes through. Jaedyn Shaw is pulled a little bit out of position. She's pressed too high, and it's a backdoor cut behind her, and it's an awesome look on goal. Should have been struck better for Iceland, and that would have been a goal, hands down. Darian, you rolled your eyes at that. You would have finished it.
That's right, Darian, get out there.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say that, but if we want to say that, no, I could put on my cleats again. No, it was that was
One
the moment I was
contract.
yeah, just one. Just give me one, Emma. Come on. That was the moment I was saying where it was one of those exposing times where we don't see the US get taken advantage of, or somebody really thread the ball through one of the weaknesses, where Jaedyn Shaw is also learning a lot. She's still a really young player. She's thinking the player sitting wide. She doesn't look over her shoulder to mark where the player is. She sneaks in and she has 2 to 3 seconds for Jaedyn Shaw to look over at her, and she gets into that massive gap between her and Germa. And yes, that forward is going to want that ball back, because that is what you sit and train. You have high repetitions of as a winger, as a number 9, those slip balls forward, how you put it in front of your body, how you get it going towards the near post so that you can slot it far post. It was not a great finish, but I think it put US on their heels a little bit, where's the defensive principles that we're used to seeing? I think it humbled this back line a bit. It humbled the midfield a bit to not leave so much space open and not leave those passing lanes open into the Icelandic front line. But I like that we got some challenges. I like that we're getting that the US is getting exposed a little bit. This is how this team grows. This is how this team gets better. So when we do face teams that will finish those opportunities, they can plug those holes sooner.
The question marks continue to come for Iceland, forcing them on the United States, because 56th minute into the second half, Iceland ends up getting an equalizer, 1-1. It's Selma Sol Magnusdóttir, a strike from distance that is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Iceland also had a chance about 5 minutes earlier in the 49th minute, a set piece that was serviced into the box. And this is the moment where, heading into halftime, US is up 1-0. Emma Hayes doesn't make any changes at halftime. Iceland rotates some players in, but then Iceland scores this equalizer. The last time that Iceland has scored on the United States was the 2011 Algarve Cup. The US end up winning 4-2. But that is the last time, 2011, and this scores in an equalizer in the 56th minute. Where was the breakdown, Sandra? You touched on it a little bit before, but what really happened in this moment? Was it bad defense by the US or really good offense by Iceland?
Lisa, it's like you want me to change my last name to like Herrera's daughter. Like you keep coming at me with like the Iceland, and I'm just like, girl, this is why. But no, I'll keep it going. I'll keep giving the respect to Iceland. But yeah, just to echo my sentiments from earlier, this is what we saw from Iceland. They were bringing the game during stretches of the match to the United States, and they weren't intimidated by getting in and or out, fluctuating in or out in terms of the numbers in various thirds of the pitch. And I think they knew that they had to maybe challenge a little bit and their high line against the United States, almost kind of daring the United States a little bit at times. And I think to get those moments, to get those very specific transitional moments where they can go and quickly counterattack. And we saw that in this one. We saw the breakdown happening out wide. We saw the ball get recycled around. We saw the failure to of that recognition, that defensive awareness for the trio of midfielders that we saw out on the pitch. And I think it's maybe 50-50. Lisa, honestly, there's two teams out there. So it's a combo of the breakdown and the fail to recognize that transition to defensive moment. And it's an absolute credit. I mean, when you make a finish like that against Alyssa Nair from distance, you absolutely have to give credit.
Yes,
so it's
I
a good
agree with you, Sandra. Yeah, I agree with you that the strike is good, but there was no pressure on it. There was absolutely no pressure.
None. Window was pretty wide open.
And that's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you both. Having too much time on the ball, to me, the concern here is the lack of really, really fundamental defensive principles. Somebody 1-2s around you, you follow your runner. Lindsay Horan, that's your runner. You have to follow and block space. You don't have to be on that defender, but you have to block the passing lane back into her. And that's how the combination started. You see Rose Lavelle sprinting her ass off to go and try to cover. She overcommits because she's trying to make up ground. But that happens all over the pitch. But in that defensive third, those are moments where it cannot happen. It's the U.S. women's national team. It can't happen. And credit to Magnusdottir for a little shake and bake herself, puts it on her left with a beautiful curler far post past the legendary Alyssa Nair. You have to pat yourself on the back for that. But I think maybe we saw so much focus on the U.S. having majority of possession since Emma Hayes has come and coached the U.S. women's national team. So much focus on going forward that we finally saw a little bit of a breakdown where, that maybe this does need to be fine-tuned. Maybe we need to get back to basics defensively because teams see this. We know we can break you down.
Lapse defensively. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It's not like Horan doesn't know that she has to track her defenders.
Oh, yeah.
How much do you think Alyssa Nair got on them after that goal happened?
Oh, I'm sure a ton. Keepers lose their minds in situations like that, where it is basics. We all know this. We've all been trained this since you were in college, especially since you've been pro. This is the expectation to have these basic fundamentals that you do. I doubt we'll see it again anytime soon, unless it's some immaculate trick play where there's like a back heel and a flick and a nutmeg and someone shakes and bakes and finishes.
That's different. That's different. That's not what this situation was. It was just
I know, but I don't think we'll see it again.
Yeah,
we're an Iceland recap show now. It's Carlin's daughter. It's Jenkins' daughter.
We're in Reykjavik, guys. Woo!
Let's go. Let's get it. What do they drink there? What's their big thing? White Russians? Is that what they drink there? Come on, let's
let
go.
us know.
No idea.
I guess. What do they drink in Iceland? Find out and let us know in the chat.
A lot of fresh fizz. Well, Iceland, they got the equalizing goal in the 56th minute. Selma Magnusdottir. And then some changes happened for the U.S. Some rotation. Some players made their debut. We're talking about it next. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Attacking Third. USA get a 3-1 win over Iceland, but the two game-winning goals for the U.S. didn't come until late in the match. By the 56th minute, everything was tied up 1-1, and Emma Hayes thought, you know what? We got to make some changes. We got to bring in some people that are going to change the game. We're also going to get some senior national team debuts. In the 66 minutes, the U.S. brought on Gotham forward Yasmin Ryan, midfielder Jaedyn Shaw, and defender Casey Kruger, subbing out Mal Swanson, Lindsay Horan, and Emily Fox. Yasmin Ryan makes her U.S. women's national team debut, becoming the first player from TCU to earn a senior national team cap. 66 minute, Ryan subs on Darian. She goes out wide. She is on the right side with Casey Kruger underneath her. What'd you see from Yasmin Ryan? You thought she'd get a call up. Not necessarily in the front line, though. How'd you guys?
There's still plenty of games. For those who don't know, I did predict Yasmin Ryan would get called up, but I see her becoming a mock wingback when the U.S. goes into a 3-back. I totally see it. We've seen, and I think Yasmin Ryan has it in her because she is so solid defensively. But in this match, she came in as a forward, and I think she did really well. She got her first few touches, found her way into the game, and then we finally got to see her just start to cook how she does with Gotham, where she doesn't overcomplicate her game. She has incredible vision. I think she had one move where she was dribbling. She set some players up, had a scissor, put it on the outside of her foot, tried to slip somebody, but she just looked crafty and smart and technical and looked like this wasn't her first camp. It didn't look like her first cap with the women's national team. This looks like some players' 4th, 5th cap where they get minutes. So she looked confident. I think she should be really proud of herself. I expect her to get a lot more minutes in these next upcoming friendlies to really see what she can do, because she also was taking shots and whipping balls in. She just looked confident. So she was actually one of my players that I was really happy to see get their debut. And even if this wasn't her debut, I really wanted to see her to get minutes in this match, because I just think her season and the evolution of her game this year, she's really deserved it. And I think she actually upped the level of the players around her too when she came into the game, which is not easy to do with the personnel on this women's national team.
High praise, really high praise. You can say if someone comes in and ups the level, changes it. Yasmin Ryan looked really confident. She looked really confident, really creative on the ball, really comfortable as well. Just a couple minutes later in the 70th minute, there was another slew of subs for the United States. Sophia Smith checking on, taking off Lynn Williams, and then Hal Hirschfeld, the midfielder, who was an alternate at this Paris Summer Olympics, but never played. She got her first cap coming into
wild.
Sam Coffey. Absolutely wild. Sandra, with these changes and everything that happened, how did they change the game ultimately?
They brought the gas, honestly. They brought the juice, whatever you want to call it. They brought it. And I think there's a reason why the coaching staff said, let's bring 26. We'll dress 23 for these games, these 3 games in front of us. And Emma Hayes has been very vocal about how there were going to be debuts, how there was going to be player rotation. And I appreciate and respect that they like the coaching staff tried to utilize these sub windows with more or less kind of like for like type of substitutions. While I'm in agreement with Darian, I can see the vision for Ryan where maybe there's those sort of in-game adjustments and you have a player like Ryan on the pitch who can kind of fluctuate within those different types of formations. But for tonight, to see like Hirschfeld get a debut as well and sort of see her come in for Coffey and knowing what that midfield kind of were challenged with tonight in terms of, the transitional defense and the possession that they had to have at times, I thought that she came in and was able to go ahead and fulfill those similar assignments that are maybe given to the starters. So I thought it was a good performance for Hal Hirschfeld as well.
Darian, how are you grading the performances of the debutantes tonight? Yasmin Ryan, Hal Hirschfeld?
Oh, this is so tough. I'm really put on the spot.
Also, you gotta you also like the amount of time, right? We're talking like 20-ish minutes, it's like
20 minutes.
Still get a grade. You could do it however you want. Numerically, you could give him like 4 stars out of 5, 5 stars. You could give him an A, B, C, D plus and
what you gotta say.
I will give Yasmin an A, because I think she came in and she really did look like she's been in training camp for a month with the I don't think she skipped a beat, maybe her first couple of touches, but who wouldn't maybe screw up their first couple of touches going into their first game with the women's national team. Hal Hirschfeld, I would give a B. I think she came in with so much energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, hey, we have all done this. Jump into your first game or whether it's college and you just run. You're overrunning the ball. You're overrunning the play. It happened a bit. But she's also such an intelligent player. I'm sure she was aware of it, but there's so much nerve and so much excitement going into this. And I don't think she even got enough time for us to actually see her full game, because at that point it was, let's just block Iceland. They're coming at us. The midfield job, going to that sixth position, you have so much to do, so much to be aware of, which I think she did a really good job of. It was just we didn't get to see her move the ball, I think, how we're used to seeing it. So that's why she gets a B in my book.
There's something to be said about calling in a player that has a couple professional years under their belt. Someone like a Yasmin Ryan at 25 years old, she's won 2 NWSL championships, coming off one last year with Gotham in 2023. And she's played significant minutes at multiple clubs in the NWSL. Hal Hirschfeld, 23 years old. She's a rookie in the league. She, although talented and incredibly mentally has a very high soccer IQ, you could see that there was some nerves. I think there's an element to be said about bringing in players that just have a little bit more professionalism under them. I mean, Yasmin Ryan looked like she belonged, and Hal Hirschfeld looked like the little puppy that was just like excited to get out there.
It was just like really excited to play with his teammates. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Which we can all appreciate.
I totally can. Of these players, outside of Yasmin Ryan and Hal Hirschfeld, who got their debut tonight, we also got to see Jaedyn Shaw, Casey Kruger, and Sophia Smith get minutes and time. Sandra, who influenced and who helped change the game the most out of those three specifically?
Oh boy, it's so tough because it's like they had such similar yet different kind of windows, right? But this is where we gotta give love to Jaedyn Shaw. Right. This player is so special that to the point where the coaching staff is still talking about how kind of not detrimental, but just what an outright bummer it was to know how talented this player was. But the injury they had to manage throughout that Olympic tournament. And when we see her come into this match alongside a Casey Kruger, and I think it's very special to note that the two of them linked up for this goal, because Shaw has the ability to, yes, we know she likes to play as a 10 and we've seen her there. And she said that maybe like, yeah, of course she's comfortable and is ideal there, but her talent and level is so good that all of a sudden you see her as whether it's a 10 or turning into almost like a 9. And then maybe she could just go ahead and cook at the 8 if you want to have her there. But in this moment where we see Kruger kind of like do a little bit of a trim spin move of her own on this day, her and Shaw kind of forcing Iceland to play freeze tag, because the defenders that we're talking about transitional defensive moments, Iceland did not know what had hit them at that moment between Kruger's combination with Shaw. And once Shaw has this ball at her feet in the box, turning on the moves and nailing this goal was incredible. Absolute impact player for sure.
Absolutely. 85th minute, Jaedyn Shaw gets the second goal for the United States to lift them 2-1 over Iceland. It is her third game-winning goal and her 8th U.S. women's national team goal. She also does it in her hometown state. Shaw's from Frisco, Texas, and she gets this one in Austin, Texas. Dee, what do you see from this goal from Shaw?
Wow. Shout out Frisco, Texas. She came in.
Did you?
No, said Frisco. I love a Frisco. I thought Shaw was so impactful. I totally agree with everything you and Sandra are saying. For a player to come in, and especially in that position where she's playing that 10 false 9, and for her to be confident enough to, I'm just going to make this run forward and watch me go 1v1 and slice and dice, and then get a little toe poke on it to push it underneath the keeper for a goal, for a game-winning goal, is so incredible. And you can just see everything she wanted to do during the Olympics that she wasn't able to do due to injury just culminate in that moment where she finally gets a goal. I typed out in my notes, "Are you not entertained?" My word. This is what we've been missing. Like, oh my God. The future is so bright with this women's national team. And I think Shaw is one of those players that is just leading the way. And I don't think we've seen her ceiling at all. I don't think we're going to see it for years to come because we just keep seeing levels of her game keep improving, keep gaining confidence. And I don't think anyone's going to be able to stop her.
Limited minutes tonight for Jaedyn Shaw. She did get time in, subbing in ultimately in the 66th minute and then getting this goal in the 85th. And another immediate response from the United States comes in the 88th minute. Sophia Smith scores the third goal for the U.S. It is an absolute insane half volley that bounces to her outside the 18 and she strikes it. It's actually redirected. She plays a little slip ball through. It gets blocked by an Icelandic defender and redirected back out to her. And she capitalizes on the moment when the ball falls to her. Her 9th goal of the year for the United States, Sophia Smith at 25 years old. She's the oldest goal scorer in this game for the United States.
That's ridiculous.
Crazy to think about. 19-year-old Alyssa Thompson, 19-year-old Jaedyn Shaw, and then 25-year-old Sophia Smith. She's still young, though. It's this goal, Darian. I want you to talk about this one because talk about Sophia Smith's goal and then the difficulty differences between Jaedyn Shaw's goal and Sophia Smith's goal. Which one's perhaps more difficult?
Oh, they're so different. It's hard to say because what I love where they're both similar is it's instinctual. Both of these players are attackers. You're thinking in these moments, you have tunnel vision, goals here. I'm going to get there and I'm just going to use this touch, finish. And Sophia Smith's goal, let's break that down first. She tries to play slip ball through to, I believe, Alyssa Thompson and defender deflects it. It's a really poor clearance by the defender. She takes a touch, it bobbles up. Half bounce, you see her chest get over the top of the ball. Her abs are locked in and she just strikes it. But the fact that she's able to have so much finesse on it and keep it low, bottom corner, just shows such a smidge of her quality that we've missed for so many games in the NWSL. And you have to know that goal felt so good when you come back from injury and your limited touches, limited minutes you get in the game. You get to put the nail in the coffin for Iceland was so impactful. I do think Shaw's goal, though, is probably more difficult. I mean, she's coming from a deeper position. She's dribbling past 2-3 defenders, slipping it under the goalkeeper. Everything is kind of a stretched touch, and she's able to get the goal. But so decisive, so instinctual from both of these players that are just through and through goal scorers, finishers, and winners.
Mentals, just excellent presence of mind, I think, on both of these goals. And I think especially for So Smith in a different type of awareness for understanding the momentum that they were sitting in that moment to just have that ball and make that very quick decision to go ahead and put your body through it, let alone ankle, right? That's also a thought I had. I was like, what ankle injury? Like, look, like out there making a shot like this as if she hasn't been dealing with, with her own sort of injuries down the stretch. But incredible stuff here. I believe I referred to it online as like a final boss level type of goal. It was absolutely the killer for the night.
I loved both of these goals. Okay, so of the 3 USA goals, before we go to another break, who had the best one? Alyssa Thompson, Jaedyn Shaw, or Sophia Smith? Sandra?
God, they were all so good. Lisa, why do you do this to us? I'm going to go with Shaw. I'll go with Shaw.
Darian?
I'll go with Alyssa Thompson.
Oh, the teams.
That one's good. Guys, I'm going to go with Sophia Smith.
I like it. We gave them all credit. I like it.
I didn't do that on purpose. I think Sophia Smith was so good. Do you know how often you practice that as a player? Yeah. You want to strike that ball. It feels so clean. It's so powerful. You are hungry for an opportunity like that. And she just buries it.
To have that sweet spot.
Yes.
And keep it low.
Yeah. Yep. So hard to do through traffic. Mwah. So dang good.
Just like you all missed me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Especially coming in off the bench, just 15 minutes before, 18 minutes before. Not a lot of time for her to get in the game, but she didn't need a lot of time. She does it. Sophia Smith scores the third for the U.S. in the 88th minute. 85th, Jaedyn Shaw gets on the board, and Alyssa Thompson in the first half, 39th minute, to give the U.S. a 3-1 win over Iceland. Don't go anywhere, guys. We are wrapping it up and talking about what's next for the United States. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. USA get the 3-1 win over Iceland in their first of 3 friendlies during this international break. The US will take on Iceland Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern on TNT, and we'll have a live recap following that match. But when we look ahead to what could potentially come in the second friendly of this international window, Sandra, who do you want to see make their debut? Who do you want to see on the pitch for the U.S. women's national team?
All right. We've got to see a couple debuts tonight. I think in keeping in line with the Olympic celebrations, we got to see Emily Sams get some minutes going forward. We got to see that next Olympian that was there that I didn't get to see time. Got to see that first cap for her.
I love that shout. Yeah, we got to see tonight Hal Hirschfeld, who was at the Olympics, get her first cap. And then, of course, we got to see Yasmin Ryan in the front line. Darian, who else do you want to see?
Ashley Sanchez. I was really hoping we get to see her get minutes tonight, but imagine a 8-10 or a double 10 with Sanchez and Shaw or Sanchez and Lavelle. I want to see a world where maybe we see Shaw at the 9, Sanchez and Lavelle at the double 10 or whatever. I think that's a scary midfield where teams have to respect so much the attacking prowess. And the combination of those 3 players on the pitch at the same time is something that I really, really want to see what the U.S. can do with it and that chemistry. What about you, Lisa?
I really want to see Emily Sams in the back line for this U.S. women's national team. Girma and Sams, I want them to play together and get significant minutes because although Sams doesn't have a cap yet, I think that could be our future center back pairing moving forward or have a good rotation there. Tierna Davidson not called into this camp. It's an opportunity for Sams to cement herself as a defender in this group because she can play center back. She can play outside back.
Maybe that's the beginning of the aggressive 3-back
Yes.
Sandra and I keep saying we want to see.
Who was
Someday.
Maybe and it's a
Someday.
really that's the beginning of a solid 3-back for the US.
We'll see.
Putting it out there.
I like it. Darian, you kind of touched on this with potentially Lavelle, Sanchez, and Shaw having partnerships, but what key partnerships and pairings did you like that you saw tonight, but also more that you want to see moving forward?
I really love the Niswanger and Swanson partnership. I think they move super well off of each other. They read the game the same way. I think their pace of the game is very similar, how quick their touches are. They don't overcomplicate things. Their rotations and movements are fun. I want to see that with Alyssa Thompson and Emily Fox or whoever's on the right side. I think Alyssa Thompson is literally an Energizer bunny, but nobody else was up to the same level of speed. And I don't think Emily Fox was either. I mean, these are players that aren't super familiar with each other. So I want to see that partnership because now I'm certain Alyssa Thompson's going to get lucrative minutes. That partnership needs to build a lot quicker.
You're certain she's going to get lucrative
I'm
minutes.
certain. I said it here.
Cut
Cut the clip.
I know.
Cut it. Post it on socials.
Yep.
Certain.
I took off. I can't see. I should have had them on.
Sandra, any partnerships you want to see more of moving forward?
Oh my goodness, yeah, I would love to see the Niswanger and Swanson relationship sort of develop. But I thought there was some good stuff there. But again, I'm not too sure because there's 2 more games, one against Iceland, another one against Argentina. Emma Hayes wants to see that player rotation. Who knows if we're going to get to see some more extended minutes for these players. I believe she said no player on this window is going to play more than 90 minutes combined across the 3 games. So I guess we'll have to stay tuned.
No player's going to need to play more than 90 minutes. That is going to force some crazy rotation.
Yeah.
Guys, maybe we'll get to see Jaedyn Campbell too.
That's where we got to see some rotation too.
Another
right?
one of those players that was in Paris and did not get to play yet. All right, guys, that does it for our U.S. Women's National Team 3-1 win over Iceland recap. USA takes the pitch again on Sunday against Iceland. 5 p.m. Eastern time is kickoff. Following that match, we'll be live right here on YouTube tomorrow. We've also got a big match in the NWSL. Kansas City Current taking on Gotham FC in the Summer Cup final. We'll be covering it on CBS Sports Network and on Paramount Plus. And of course, always tune into us on Attacking Third. Download, follow, and subscribe wherever you can. For Darian, Sandra, and Mark, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.